Tripoli EDC back again with another knife video. This is the Tuyaknife Talisman, and I'm going to go ahead and do a review of this. I actually just agreed on a trade where I'm sending this plus another knife for another Microtech Socom Elite. You might know that I have one already, but I'm actually going to trade for another one because I do like the Socom Elite. But let me go ahead and give a review about this knife. So Tuyaknife is a company that is out of China. I think they really just got going a couple of years ago, and they have a supplier in the U.S. Dave Warren and his wife are the U.S. suppliers. You can get them also through some dealers. I think the Knife Joker and some other places also have them online, as well as Amazon. So, but either way, they all pretty much go through Dave Warren. So I've heard, but I have not had the pleasure of dealing with Dave Warren, but I've heard from several people that his customer service is absolutely excellent, and so don't hesitate to give him a call or to contact him if you're in the market for a Tuyaknife. So this is a Chinese company, like I said, and the quality of this is actually really good. So before I get into the good and the bad, let me go ahead and do some size comparisons. So here is the Paramilitary 2. So you can see it's a very similarly sized knife to the Paramilitary 2, and here's the Paramilitary 3. You can see the difference. Let's go ahead and put up a Rat 1. Where's my Rat 1? Here it is. Do a Rat 1, and let's do a Benchmade Bugout. And let's do a 940, Benchmade 940, as well as a Spyderco Manix. Let's do a Benchmade Griptilian and a Endura XM18. And let's do one more. Why don't we do the, well, let's do two more. We can do the Socom Elite and the Benchmade Contigo, some larger knives. You can see it's not too large. Okay, so the good on this knife. So this thing runs about 80 bucks on Amazon. Or through Dave Warren, like I said, and it normally comes with G10 scales. These are my Carta scales. They're an upgrade. I don't know exactly how much the scales cost as an upgrade, but I will tell you they do feel excellent, and if you are in the market for this, I would recommend it with the Carta scales. Obviously, G10 is still a great material, and you know, if you don't want to go too hard into a what amounts to a budget knife, then I would recommend it probably with the G10, even though I haven't felt the G10. As long as it's a normal G10, it should be okay. Now, this is a completely stainless steel construction knife, so it actually is quite heavy. It's a lot heavier than you think it is. So I guess that falls under the bad. But let's continue with the good. So the pocket clip here is excellent. It's mostly deep carry. You only see this tiny bit of the knife sticking up when you have it in your pocket. It has pretty good retention, not too much. And like I said, my Carta scales on this are excellent. The pivot is attractive and obviously has Torx on the other side. I think this is a looks like a T6 Torx. I haven't tried it, but it is a little concerning that the Torx bit is small on that. There's not a lot of screws to this. There's a couple of screws here and then the pivot, so it's minimal construction here as far as getting it through. I like the flow through construction, and you know, it's only got a couple of these standoffs right here, so that's good. The centering on this is good, and this is on bearings. And the bearings on this, the action is fantastic. It's really smooth. For an $80 knife, this really is a lot of fun to play with. I haven't really oiled it, and it still has this nice bearing drop shot action. So that's excellent. I would say about 2 years ago, when this first came out, I think this came out about 2 years ago, this would have been an excellent value at $80 with the bearings. But since then, they've had CJRB, Civivi, there's a whole bunch of competition in the marketplace. In the budget realm with bearings, I think Artisan Cutlery also has a couple of, I think CGRB might be their budget line, but Artisan for a while had been using their own name in their budget line. So a lot of these companies are using bearings now, and it's a lot more competitive. So the value on this as an $80 knife isn't as good as it once was. That being said, it still is a pretty excellent value at $80. Like I said, the action on this is really good. So the good on this is the micarta scales. The scales feel pretty good. The ergonomics on this are excellent. I haven't really mentioned the ergonomics, but the ergonomics are excellent. It is very hand-filling, and it feels very sturdy. There's no doubt this is a workhorse knife. The choil here is a usable choil. It is a little small. I don't love the fact that it's a little small, but it is an excellent sharpening choil. I did sharpen this once, and it was really, really easy to sharpen. So that's the good on this, and the action, of course, is excellent on the bearings. What's bad about this knife? So the pocket clip does feel a little bit cheap, but again, we're in the budget realm, so it's not really that big of a deal, even though it is deep carry. So I do like the deep carry. The stainless steel, like I said, makes it really heavy. So this is a little bit excessively heavy. I don't use a scale. Maybe I should get one at some point, but this does feel really heavy. This feels about as heavy. Let me see. Yeah, so this is heavier than the Benchmade Contigo, which is a much larger knife. This is, let's see. Yeah, this is about as heavy as a full track, Endura full track, and that's pretty heavy. A full track is a much bigger knife. Here you can see. The full track is a much bigger knife, and it's about that heavy. So that is a little bit concerning, and that does take away from the knife a little bit, but like I said, it is solid. Probably my biggest criticism of this knife is and the jimping, by the way, is okay on this, but my biggest criticism is really the pocket, or the flipper tab. The flipper tab is, there's no jimping on it. It looks like there's jimping, but it's not effective jimping. It doesn't do anything. So it really isn't very helpful. It's a short pocket, flipper tab, and the way it's shaped, your finger just wants to slide off it. So I can't tell you how many times I'll put my finger on here and misfire. And it's not because, the detent on this is good, but the flipper tab is so slippery that, you can run your finger on it, and yeah, sometimes it does catch, but unless you're applying a good amount of pressure down, a downward pressure here, your finger will slide off. So whereas if you're used to, like the Endura flipper tab, for example, because it has that sort of hook shape that goes up, when you flip it, you don't really need to apply much pressure to it. And obviously the Endura is a much more expensive knife, but with this one, your finger just slips right off it. Let me see if I have another budget offering that is a flipper. So look, CRKT Slacker, okay? So it's shaped a little bit upward with the hook shape. Now this one your finger does flip, come off it a little bit, but because it has that little extra shape where it goes up, I have much less of an issue, failing on this and misfiring than I do on this one, the Tuyaknife Talisman. Also, I would have liked to see a better steel on this for the $80 that it runs. I know it's a couple years old, so the D2 hadn't taken over the market yet. I like D2 a little bit better than this steel, but this is AUS 10, Let me see if I can show you that. That's AUS 10. So AUS 10 is, from what I've read, comparable to 440C, which is still a great steel. I mean, well, I shouldn't say great steel. It's a good steel. I would say if you want to get in the realm of great steel, you know, you're looking at 154 cm, CPM 154, and then anything above that, where you get into, or anything above S30V, where you get into S35 yen and M390 and 20 CV and M4, those are going to be, you know, the best steels. But you have good, you know, AUS 8 might be adequate. You know, this is maybe a little bit above adequate, you know, or around adequate to good. So the one plus on it is it was extremely easy to sharpen. I was able to get a really nice edge on this, and I'm very happy about that. So overall, I have to say, you know, this is an excellent offering from Tuyaknife. This was one of their entry knives into the market. Obviously, it's a little dated at this point, and I say dated because there's so many other entries into the market at the budget that are, you know, bearings, and they're just a little bit, like, this is a little bit heavier. The other ones might flip a little bit better with the tabs, but and they have D2 steel. And a lot of times they're actually a little bit cheaper, you know, $50, $60, somewhere around there, whereas this is $80, and then you got to pay for the micarta scales. But other than that, this is a great knife. I would recommend it, but I would not recommend it over some of the other knives. Like, I would rather have a Saviti Backlash for $42 than this Tuyaknife Talisman at $80. It just is what it is. The Backlash is such a good value that I would much rather have the Backlash. And, you know, I might even consider having a $60 Boker Kalashnikov in CTS-XHP over this. Now, I would rather have this than the AUS 8 version of this. But in the CTS-XHP, I'd probably rather have this over this for $60. And just for reference, the AUS 8 version of this is about 42, the same 42 that that the Backlash is. So I hope that's helpful to you guys. If you're looking at the Tuyaknife Talisman or other Tuyaknife knives, I would say the build quality is great. And so if you're interested in some of the higher end ones, I wouldn't hesitate to give them a shot. I know the Tuyaknife Kingsman has gotten a lot of great reviews, and based on the build quality of this, I'm actually interested in getting the Tuyaknife Kingsman, and I may get that down the road. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Go ahead and give me a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and drop a comment. I love seeing your guys' comments and responding to them. Take care. Have a good night.